PlayStation Handheld might be AMD's last mobile chip. Disney decides it's done with AI, and Apple is fixing their gaming. They might be competitive. Let's get into the hot news, everybody. I'm your Brett host. We're gonna be going over the hottest tech news I can find on the internet while you enjoy your breakfast this Thursday, June 12th, 2025. I'm joining you from outside because I'm starting to record a little late, so my family has taken over the house, which is fine. I just needed to find a different place to record. So if the audio is a little noisy, that's because I'm outside and real life is happening around me. But if I had a PlayStation Handheld, I could ignore all that and stare at a screen for a long time. And reports are coming out about the new APU that's gonna go into that chip. And there's a couple of things to note here with this new report on the upcoming PlayStation Portable 2 or whatever they're gonna call it. Number one, it's gonna feature AI upscaling, being the first GPU from AMD to have discrete AI upscaling, whether that's using specific called tensor cores like NVIDIA has, or they're gonna call it something different like a neural processing unit like they have in their APUs. It's not quite clear, but they're potentially gonna be using that in order to help upscale on the mobile handheld, especially because it's going to have only a third of the memory bandwidth of the PlayStation 5. But you combine that with the fact that the PS5 and PS5 Pro are both getting a low energy mode, and it looks like potentially Sony is gearing up to launch some form of mobile PlayStation 5 that can play your games on the go. But as mentioned, there's a couple things to note in this rumor slash leak that's coming out, and that is, yes, Sony, next AMD APU with AI upscaling, but reportedly, there are no plans for a Z3 lineup, so we're expecting to get the Z2 Extreme and Z2 and something like the new Xbox Ally, but AMD is allegedly losing interest in this market, so they may not actually launch a Z3 lineup. And it also says the next OEM handheld APU lineup, if it happens at all, will be their next-gen lineup in 2029. So Z3 could potentially not be UDNA 1, it might actually be UDNA 2, moving past where we are currently. And it's not quite clear what this means for the Steam Deck or potentially any future releases when it comes to handhelds. Maybe they won't keep using dedicated chips for that market and instead do what companies like Ioneo or otherwise do, which is take what is going into a mobile laptop processor and instead put that in the handheld, because they're roughly identical besides, I think, mostly the addition of the neural processing units. But there's also AI versions of the Z2 Extreme coming out that also have neural processing units. Not quite clear what's happening here. I would think that this is a burgeoning industry and AMD would want to stay involved, but we'll talk about why PC gaming handhelds just don't matter in the grand scheme of things in a little bit after I tell you what really matters. Today's video sponsor.
Raggy? yeah, sorry, Shaggy. We caught the bird monster at the Carnegie Museum.
Like, let's go, man. Great work, Scoop.
Yeah, it's just like right there. Can't fly, so we're ready to do the explanation we always do. You know, at the end of the episode.
All right, dude, let's get down to it. Like, just as I thought, man. That's a Falcon Northwest Tiki PC, the smallest micro tower on the market.
So you're telling me this monster with feathers isn't a bird monster, and it's a custom-built PC specifically for us?
Like, man, I don't understand what you're not getting with this. We do these reveals every episode. They can also do custom artwork, too.
So you're telling me that bird is this small? It can fit a 5090?
If by bird you mean this obvious PC, then yes.
All right, Mr. Smarty Pants. You know so much about Falcon Northwest. Who's in charge?
Like, easy, man. It's been the same guy from the start. But Falcon Northwest is way more than just one dude, man.
All right, fine, Shaggy. If you've already solved this, name all the case options.
Come on, Scoob, you're throwing softies, man. Talon, mid-tower, frag box, small form factor. Oh, and our pal, the Tiki over there.
Whoa. All right. You seem to know all the evidence. But does this explain the warranty and support options?
Like it sure does, man. All Falcon Northwest PCs come with a 3-year warranty and 1 year of overnight service. Standard.
All right, dude, I get it. You know your custom PC builders.
Scoob, man. You're like majorly slacking, man. Falcon Northwest makes PCs for everyone, not just gamers. Content creation, business applications. You do it all.
That's probably why they were named one of PC Mag's best products of 2024.
That's enough chit chat, boys. Let's see who this really is.
Old Man Falcon!
Falcon Northwest is awesome. We've been working with them for years, whether it's the charity streams, which they've provided PC giveaways for us with the custom SRF liveries, or it's just sponsoring Hot News. It's been great to partner with them, especially with the amount of love that they have for the PC enthusiast community, the products that they make, and just their presence in the PC hardware community. It's been fantastic to have them. Big thanks to Falcon Northwest for sponsoring today's video. Well, Falcon Northwest are very high-end PCs. They're not quite this high-end just yet, with the AMD Instinct MI3550X getting unveiled and showing off what it's capable of. Now, the Falcon Northwest is great for workstations and gaming and for people who use them for regular stuff. This is server things we're talking about, with the highest end MI355X coming in with 8 Instinct GPUs, making it have a typical board power of 1400 watts with 40 petaflops of performance, coming in as a massive GPU chip, just showing that AMD is trying to keep up when it comes to what's going on in servers in terms of GPU power. They're not quite competing with NVIDIA in terms of market share on that side just yet, but AMD is still working to stay toe-to-toe with NVIDIA when it comes to spec for spec, even if companies aren't ready to move on to them just yet. But plenty of people willing to move on to the Nintendo Switch 2, because Nintendo coming out with its sales numbers of 3.5 million in the first 4 days of this console's existence, which Nintendo says makes it the fastest selling Nintendo console ever. It's already at 26% of the total lifetime sales of the Wii U. It beat the original Switch by quite a bit, because in 4 weeks, 2.7 million units is what the original Switch sold. So there's more than that in just the first 4 days. It's actually the fastest selling console of all time, with 3.5 million units in 4 days. Sony took 16 days to sell 2.1 million PS4s. The PS5 sold 4.4 million in just 7 weeks, with the PS5 being a faster seller than the PS4. It appears like Nintendo has absolutely gotten their market to purchase. I mean, it's been a long time since they launched a new version of their console, so people who have been holding on to the original Switch since, what was it, 2016, they were likely ready to upgrade. But additionally, this is a secondary thing. It shows how much more prepared Nintendo was for their supply chain than we get in the PC industry with things like the launches of graphics cards or CPUs, where we're not hitting these kinds of numbers, but yet it's still tremendously difficult to find stock. It is still kind of difficult to get the Switch 2, but there were people who were able to walk into Best Buy or GameStop during the midnight launch and actually purchase them even if they hadn't pre-ordered. So it shows that Nintendo had a supply chain that was ready to go, a lot of preparation going into it, and looks like a lot of people are enjoying their Switch 2. But what very few people are going to enjoy is the Google Beam 3D video conferencing screen, which is now getting its first rollout, with them unveiling their HP Dimension. It uses 6 high-speed cameras to create a virtual kind of 3D wraparound effect where it looks like you're actually talking to a hologram of the person on the other side. Now, this technology is actually more affordable than I thought it was going to be. Affordable's a stretch, but it's way cheaper than I was expecting the initial rollout to be. It's coming in at $25,000, which is a huge chunk of change, but I was expecting somewhere north of 6 figures for something like this. However, it still may end up costing more than 25 grand, because in order to use it, you have to have a Google Beam license, which has not had its price disclosed. Now, the HP Dimension does support just regular video meetings, so you can still have like 2D flat imaging conference calls, but in case you want to have that 3D hologram, 2 people have to have this, so that's a $50,000 investment at minimum to get the full experience. It could be something nice for the UFD office if we wanted to talk to people in the US and here in South Africa. I'm not gonna spend 50 grand, but HP, if you're listening, I have a use case. I don't have the cash, but I have the use case. And it does seem like this technology is pretty decent in terms of what the prototype was. Marquez Brownlee had a video on this 2 years ago where it seemed like it actually does represent people in a nice 3D hologramic space so that it looks like you're actually talking to a physical person through the screen. But I'm not doing that with Reece today because he didn't want to come over, so he's gonna do deals from home.
Yo, welcome back to UFD Deals, bringing the hottest tech deals on the internet. I'm back in my room for today and I'll jump into the deals for you you guys. Starting off today, we have this 8BitDo Pro 2 wired Xbox controller for only $24.99, making it $20 off. But then next up, we have this Vilva 15.6-inch 1080p USB-C portable monitor for only $49.99, making it $10.20 off. And then lastly, we have what's possibly the first discount on this brand new Alienware 34-inch 3440 by 1440 240Hz ultra-wide curved QD OLED gaming monitor, making it $692.99 with Dell's 10% off reward coupon that you can find on your account, making it $107 off the total price. And hey, with that, the deals are done. You can find these and more linked in the video description down below. But until next time, I'm gonna hand you back to Brett for the rest of your hot news. Cheers.
Well, Reece, NASA is getting a bum deal when it comes to their budget, getting $6 billion slashed in an upcoming fiscal year. But with that, they're having to restructure a whole bunch of things. There's layoffs, early retirements that are happening, but also they're shutting down the social media accounts of various beloved little creatures that they got roaming around on foreign bodies. The Curiosity rover is having its public handle taken down, as well as the Persevere mission, with NASA saying that they have to do a social media consolidation, which they have 400 different accounts across 15 platforms. It does make sense that there's going to be some consolidation that's necessary. They are taking some of the more beloved ones away as well in order to try to conserve their finances. It's a little sad. Earlier this week, we talked about how the JWST uploaded 1.5 terabytes of footage onto the internet that you can look at. That was a great win. This appears to be a sad loss for NASA. I'm going through a bereavement process on this a little bit, but media companies like Disney or NBC Universal are going through an aggressive process right now, with them filing a lawsuit against MidJourney, which is a company that makes AI models, with them alleging severe copyright infringement, calling it a bottomless pit of plagiarism, and that it's AI slop and piracy is piracy, and the fact that it's done by an AI company does not make it any less infringing, and that MidJourney downloaded copyrighted content using bots, scrapers, stream rippers, video downloaders, and web crawlers. And in their filing, they show off that yes, MidJourney has plenty of assets where they not just produce the actual images of Darth Vader on a beach, but additionally, they also have things on like their Explore page where they show off this third-party copyrighted content, and Disney, Universal, DreamWorks, all of them are not having it. This is one of the first major lawsuits that's coming against some image generation, with Disney and the other companies acknowledging that it does seem like MidJourney knows what they're doing. They're not necessarily hiding the fact that they are scraping copyrighted content. It's just, as we've seen from other commentary from other AI companies, they think that they have the right to do it because otherwise they wouldn't have the output that they have and they would fall behind. So it's either you do this and risk a lawsuit, or you don't have a product at all to ship to people. I'm curious what MidJourney's response and defense is going to be. They haven't released a public statement as of the time of recording, but I think it's clear just from seeing how all of this operates that they have scraped copyrighted content. I don't think that can be argued. The argument has to come down to, does it matter? Is it fair use? Are they allowed to, as an AI model, the same thing as a person using it for drawing practice? Is it the same idea? That's going to probably be what's going to get hashed out into the courts. And Wikipedia hashing out whether or not they want AI summaries on their web pages, with the decision by most of the editors being no, with words like yuck and slop being thrown around. AI summaries being beta tested on Wikipedia, kind of being rolled out to the various editors, and the editors just coming out and saying that this is not a good idea. It's ghastly, could potentially ruin the credibility of Wikipedia and make it so that people can't trust it as much as they once did, especially with the idea that editors are there trying to preserve the content that's being published on the platform. AI known to hallucinate and create things that potentially aren't there, and make it so that Wikipedia is no longer a reliable resource. And most people wouldn't think of Apple as a reliable resource for gaming, but things are steadily changing, with the code game director of Cyberpunk 2077 showing off that they got the ultimate edition of the game hitting 120 FPS on ultra settings on the MacBook Pro with the M4 Max chips, and it's coming in 2025. Now, if you consider the price of the hardware of an M4 Max MacBook Pro, that doesn't seem all that fantastical, hitting 120 FPS. Additionally, the resolution is not known there, but we did a video recently where we tested both Mac Studios, the M4 Max, which should be as fast fast as the laptop, if not faster, because of a better cooling solution, and the M3 Ultra, which has a significantly higher end GPU than what you can find in the M4 Max. And what we found when we tested that was at Ultra settings, if you include ray tracing, we only got 13 FPS on the M4 Max and 18 on the M3 Ultra. At 1440p high, we got 60 FPS on the M3 Ultra and 64 on the M4 Max. And then at 4K high, we hit 21 FPS on the M4 Max and 33 on the M3 Ultra. Now, if we're assuming it's the stock resolution of the M4 Max screen, then something like between 1440p and 4K would make sense in terms of trying to figure out what the performance would be like. So we assume somewhere like 40 FPS at high. You want to crank it up to ultra, you're going to drop that down even further. So the fact that they're hitting 120 FPS shows that Apple's making a concerted effort to get their API working with major AAA games. Now, it's not the biggest deal in the world, especially considering Cyberpunk is now a half-decade-old game, but they have continuously updated it so it can still be a technical showcase. Their latest launch on the Switch 2 has a lot of improvements that weren't present in the original game, so it's not as if this doesn't matter, but it also shows that Apple is working on gaming. There's reports of gaming devices and gaming chips that are allegedly in the works from Apple. They continuously, every WWDC, show off various different frameworks that they're launching with their Metal API, trying to make it more friendly for porting. And I, for one, while people might poo-poo Mac, I'm excited that there might be another competitor in the space to make it more available for gamers everywhere, being able to play on whatever device they choose and being able to do that locally instead of having to do it through something like cloud streaming or otherwise. And you guys said otherwise things in yesterday's episode of Hot News. Let's see what you had to say in the comments. We got Lieutenant Grandmaster saying, I want to upgrade from my 3080 to a 9070 XT, but I was waiting for the prices to come back down or normalize somewhat since my 3080 is still going strong. But then I started seeing rumors of a 9080 XT possibly in the works, so now I want to see what that looks like. End of the day, I have no problem waiting things out and skipping this gen if it comes to it. I think pricing's probably going to be your biggest issue here. I personally, if this was me, would not wait for the 9080 XT. I have also seen those rumors. I have not reported on them here on Hot News because they don't seem very substantiated. It doesn't seem like there's enough to it to trust that that's coming out anytime soon. If this was me, I would look at 9070 XT looking for that price to get better rather than waiting for something that has not even had hard speculation, let alone a confirmation from AMD. Which we got Pawnee Rico saying N1X is disappointing. NVIDIA hyped this thing so hard. Comes out after the Ryzen Max and it's built on a 3nm and it loses against it in multi-threading. It doesn't win in single thread by a lot, but it'll have NVIDIA pricing for sure. $15 CPU cooler is a real yummy deal. Thanks for the Dealmaster commentary, but I want to address this one for a couple of reasons. Number one, NVIDIA hasn't hyped this at all. NVIDIA hasn't talked about the N1X. It hasn't actually been publicly disclosed by them. So I don't know what you mean by they've hyped this thing so hard. They actually haven't. Secondly, yes, Ryzen Max might be built on an older process node. Regardless, it has better software support. It's got x86 integration. It is very more likely to just going to be able to outperform the N1X just due to having more compatibility across the board and more time to cook. So the fact that this is NVIDIA's first attempt at a mainstream laptop CPU, and they're getting very close to what AMD has on something that they've been working on for years, I think is actually an impressive showing. But again, NVIDIA hasn't hyped this thing. I haven't seen any official report from NVIDIA where they're like, the N1X is gonna be killer, we're gonna destroy AMD. They haven't done that. That's been media talking about it. It's been people like me who have seen what's going on behind the scenes and talking to you about it, not NVIDIA themselves. And then Gonomy Leg is saying, only 2 weeks until the new Streetlight album drops. Other than my brother, I don't know of any other fans, so I felt the need to share the excitement. I hear you. I'm excited for the new Streetlight album. I won't believe it's out until it's actually out because Sir Thomas Konolke has had a long history of delaying projects. And so once it's out, it's out. If it's not out, that's what I expected of them. It's been 13 plus years. I can wait a little bit longer for us to be able to get another album from them. And then Miller is saying, moving cities or states with a kid with complex additional needs is hard enough. I can't imagine the logistical challenges with moving countries with my disabled kid, but I'm really happy for you and your family that everything has moved along in such a way for you to move back to South Africa. Yeah, I mean, it has been logistically challenging. This is, as mentioned in yesterday's episode, has been a 2-year-long journey to even get to the prep stages for this move. So, you know, I'm not done with the US. I'm gonna be heading back to the US office sometime soon. And you're still gonna be seeing hot news and shorts and all that from America for the time being, because we're not ready to completely live here just yet. But everything is green lights in terms of we are going to be able to. But yeah, we're excited. There's been a lot going into it to make it successful, because logistically, like our son's medications, we need to make sure that we have plenty, both here as well as in the States, for the transition, to make sure that as we transition him to the South African, you know, generics of a specific medication, that we have enough to wean him off of the US version onto the South African version, because that can always be a tricky situation. So there's a lot going into it, but we're excited. It's official that it's happening. We have a home. We got it set up somewhat. Hottie-das. I miss those loud things. You know, we have beds. I have a car here. We're getting the office set up for Reece and Catlin to work out of. With TechLean saying, so does this grand return to South Africa also mean Reece will be moving to a location with more stable power? I need my daily deals. Yes. So one of the things that goes into the logistics of taking care of my son is obviously South Africa has power issues with load shedding and otherwise. And so we have made sure we found a property that has both solar as well as a battery backup. So that way we're not reliant on having being connected to the physical grid in order to take care of our family. And then also there should be enough spare power that we should be able to run our YouTube channel from it, because we don't necessarily need that much. And we can, you know, if the power is out and we're on battery backup, we can go outside like this and record in the sun in order to save energy in terms of like using lights or otherwise. Additionally, the house is kitted out so that we could hook up a generator as well to the main line, and make it so that we have both a solar battery backup as well as a generator backup. And so we have a lot going on here. Additionally, we're off-grid in terms of water, so we have off-grid power and water here at this place, making it so that we are a little bit better set in terms of taking care of my family. But then also, yes, if Reece is working from here, he should be able to do deals and streams and all of that kind of stuff with fewer interruptions, is hopefully the idea. We still don't have fiber installed. I requested fiber to get installed when our lease started, which was like at the beginning of the month, and it's still taking forever to happen. But so has this episode of Hot News. I'm gonna be done. I'll see you back here for more of the hottest tech news tomorrow, hopefully. Hiccups.